Hey traders, checking in on the cryptocurrency space. A lot of red out there today as we are seeing correlation with the broader markets as some fear is creeping in. Finally seeing SPY monthly consolidation. Does this mean we're going to see monthly equilibriums form in many of the cryptocurrency names that we follow? Let's look at the charts. So this is SPY on the daily time frame. If you've been following our broader market videos, we saw the selling pressure last week where we would open higher and then we would just sell off all day. But it's now finally getting ugly with a big time gap down. And not only that, the bulls just have not proven anything at any point since the bell rang. We had a little bounce and then it's just been lower highs and lower lows since then. So complete bear control in the short term. And if you've been following, you know that we've been watching for SPY monthly consolidation to shape up because it has been extremely overdue, seeing a higher low every month for 11 months in a row at this point, and that pattern has now broken. So monthly consolidation is underway. We are going to scout a monthly higher low. We have tons of space for it to form. The question that we're going to be looking to answer over the next couple weeks or couple months is how much pullback do we get from here? Is it a monthly bull flag? Is it a big enough pullback that we would then anticipate a monthly lower high is going to be the next likely scenario? I'm using fib retracements as my guide, and I'm using the higher low back from September of 2020 as a guide. And we can see that pretty much if we hold monthly EMA 12, this consolidation longer term stays healthy. But this downward pressure is absolutely having an impact on the cryptocurrency space as well. The narrative that's being attributed to this weakness in the broader markets, you've got the Evergrande situation in China and the potential implications of that ripple effect if they were to go under. And you've got tapering. That is another narrative. And we have the FOMC this Wednesday. So again, as crypto continues to get more mainstream acceptance and Bitcoin specifically, the correlations are more and more significant. So you know I've been talking about the broader market correlation for a very long time at this point, but just more and more examples where, if you are trading, if you're holding Bitcoin, then you're not worried about it. But if you're trading and looking at shorter term timeframes, you need to be aware of what's going on in China and the impact on the broader market, the impact on European and Asian markets, and the impact in cryptocurrency. So SPY right now, daily RSI is approaching oversold for the first time since the COVID dump. So this is definitely a notable drop. And we're going to be looking at a monthly higher low, but no sign of it at this point in time. One good sign for the bulls of Bitcoin is that its oversold bounce is going a lot better than SPY right now. We started the morning with a flush. The bounce got going before the bell rang, and then we're not seeing the tick-for-tick correlation that we often see with SPY and Bitcoin on the 5-minute time frame. So that's a good sign. That's a positive. We could say that Bitcoin bulls on this bounce already are positioned well if the SPY bulls can set a low of the day and get some kind of bounce going here. So Bitcoin, bigger picture. So we've been talking about a monthly lower high being the most likely scenario for a while, and we were talking about how SPY monthly consolidation could help with that monthly lower high forming. So it remains to be seen yet. We need to close out this monthly candle for 10 days and then break the low of September in October. But it's certainly on the table. And recently we were looking at the potential of weekly bull flags and saying, okay, is this a possible weekly bull flag? And the answer was yes, it is possible that we form a bull flag here. But now that we broke into lower lows, probabilities decrease that it's a weekly bull flag. We're still in the gray zone as far as retracement size. We're down at about a 45% retracement. And we're not getting a whole lot of bear follow through at this point on the inside bar break. But if the broader market weakness continues, and if we keep dropping down towards the 50% retracement, then again, that monthly equilibrium is on the table, and it may mean that the cryptocurrency space gets a bit boring into 2022. And we'll have to wait for the monthly equilibrium to break. If that's the case, I'm going to be scouting a monthly higher low, ideally for the bulls, holding the monthly EMA 12 like we did last time around when we tested it. But one time frame at a time, and we did just see a clear bear break of the low of the September 7th flush. No follow through, but again, we're just looking for short-term oversold bounces right now. The hourly is trying to set up a trend change. Then we zoom out and scout a 4-hour lower high. We've got a clear 4-hour volume climax candle there, but lots of space for this lower high. If I'm going to look at this and say, well, there's a daily bear break with a lack of follow through, at a bare minimum, Bitcoin bulls have to confirm a 4-hour trend change into tomorrow for that to be the case. Every lower low that we hit from here, under 42.5, increases probabilities of monthly equilibriums. The dominance chart has been going up. We know generally, if we're going to be strong in the cryptocurrency space recently, we want the dominance chart going down. So right now, it's dropping because generally we see on the drop, Bitcoin goes down faster and altcoins drop harder, and then altcoins bounce more significantly than Bitcoin. Essentially, we go magnified moves in both directions. So I will continue to maintain that I am a more confident cryptocurrency bull when the dominance chart is weak and it is altcoins that are leading the way on the bull moves. And over these past few days, it's honestly, I was looking at Bitcoin dominance chart starting to shift and saying, okay, well, is this, the pricing in of excitement for the potential of an ETF in October? And it's just a reminder, no, it was a rally that we shouldn't trust significantly because it was not alts leading the way. Essentially, every time I look for a shift in this trend that we've been watching for a year or a year and a half at this point, it just reminds me, no, we're still in that same pattern. And that remains the case for now. And the last thing that a cryptocurrency bull wants to see, in my opinion, is a hold of this monthly low. And if we're going to get a monthly equilibrium on Bitcoin USD, what does that mean for the dominance chart? It means we likely trade within this tightening range. We held the low. Our key high of the bounce is 49.16. And let's see if we trade within this range now for a bunch of weeks. ETH USD. So bear break of the weekly inside bar. Again, not a ton of follow through at this point, but we are just looking at short-term oversold bounces. 4-hour time frame, oversold bounces underway, and we're just scouting a 4-hour lower high. Bears are scouting 4-hour lower high entries with this most recent bear break here. And losing the 15-minute uptrend would be a first indication for the potential of a 4-hour lower high forming. We can see a clear 15-minute uptrend on this bounce. I chose Ethereum for my bounce play, and we'll look at that in just a second. And ETH BTC, also a weekly inside bar bear break. Lack of follow through right now, but clear 4-hour trend change would be needed. And again, I pretty much need the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency bulls to show up for the next multiple days in a row, pretty much from here, Tuesday, Wednesday, if we're going to be looking at this and saying, okay, well, they're bear breaks with the lack of follow through. Let's see if bulls can shift this momentum back in their favor. But for now, bear breaks, just looking at 4-hour oversold bounces. Let's go over the ETH trade right now. So the trigger for me to be looking for an entry into this oversold bounce this morning was, number one, from a patient mindset. And I cannot stress enough how being a patient trader pays off. And it's the kind of thing where, again, many times I say I am in a conservative trading mindset these years recently. And it means my mistakes are leaving money on the table. So that means I am picky for entries. And if I'm waiting for a certain condition to present itself and it doesn't and the bounce gets going, I leave profit on the table. I miss the bull move. I miss the trade. I don't lose a dollar. And if the trade comes to me, then those are my ideal conditions of me being picky. So we know that the cryptocurrency space often loves to break support straight into bounces and loves to break resistance straight into pullbacks. It doesn't always happen, but it happens very often. And if you look back at Bitcoin, the last great trade that I made was the bullish entries on monthly higher lows entering on support breaks. That was my signal. I'm scaling into my positions on a break of 30,000. If I had waited to do that again this time around, I would have missed entries. I would have said, all right, break 28.8, and I'm going to start scaling in. And it wouldn't have happened, and I would have missed that move. And again, it would have been profit left on the table. I don't lose any money, but I miss an opportunity to make money. So with this setup, into this morning, first note was, let's see if I'm cutting myself off here. No. So first note, 7:43 a.m. Eastern. Picky bounce traders are hoping for support breaks to make short-term bounce entries. S&P 500 has not found a bottom on the morning drop. Aggressive bounce traders are already scaling in, looking for an hourly volume climax. So at that point in time, Bitcoin, 7 whatever in the morning, was right here. And that was aggressive bulls already scaling in and patient bulls waiting for the break of 42.8 to make their entries, or on Ethereum, waiting for a break of 3,000 to make their entries. And altcoin traders are using that same signal. So watch for Bitcoin 42.8 break to potentially set up short-term oversold bounces in alts. It's broken. Patient bounce traders are starting to scale in. And then finally, for me, I was just going to focus on stocks this morning and I wasn't going to trade this crypto bounce, but the trade came to me. I stayed picky and the setup that I wanted came, and it was the break of 42.8. So I started scaling into ETH just after 8:30, and I would have entered a handful more positions if we kept dropping, but we didn't. And 8:30 ended up being right here. I scaled in on the 5-minute candle that was the low, and I got filled about 29.40. I would have entered a second position at 28.80. Pretty much every 2% drop, I would have entered another position for a total of 4. If things got real extreme, that's what I would have been looking for. So at this point in time, I am in one position that is up $150, so 5% up on that position, and it is a small position. It's only one of 4. So I am not scaling out at this point. I'm letting the 4-hour oversold bounce play out. And it's because it's a smaller position. If I had 2, 3, 4 positions filled, I would be scaling out right now to ensure that my break even is under the low. I put my stop under that low. I can't lose on the trade. And that is my favorite kind of trade to be in. So now that we are rejecting from hourly EMA 12, I'll probably take a little bit of profit, maybe 10 to 20% of the position that I have off. So my break even will pretty much be that low. And I can set that low there and say, well, if the bulls surprise us and get a meaningful multiple day bounce, then I will have a worthwhile trade. And if not, I'll stop out break even. And again, it's because I only got one fill that I'm giving a longer leash for this to play out. The break of Bitcoin support marked the bottom. We were already in extremes on a lot of time frames. Even the 4-hour RSI was approaching 20. Hourly RSI was in the teens. And so once you trigger that stop, in the short term, who is left to sell along and who is left to go short? The only people are really late to the game. So that marked the bottom. And again, alt traders use that Bitcoin signal. Big Daddy Bitcoin can guide altcoin trades. So Sol USDT daily bear break with a lower high and lower low. We had a lot of members trading this bounce over the weekend, and it was a very significant bounce, but we gave it all back. And with that bear break, same thing. We're watching the 4-hour bounce. And if we're going to call this a bear break with a lack of follow through, I need a bull 4-hour trend change from here. So anything under 171.47 is just a lower high. Have to confirm the 4-hour trend change for us to call this a daily confirmed downtrend with 0 follow through. The weekly time frame, consolidation is finally underway. We lost the pattern of a higher low every week after a 1,000% bull move. And now the question is it a weekly bull flag or not? And if we look at it and gauge our retracement, we can say, well, we're already down to the gray zone. We pulled back 45%. So that's when I start to look for an equilibrium to be the more likely scenario. Still possible we head to a higher high. It's just not the most likely scenario. So scouting 4-hour lower highs on all these oversold bounces. Make note, Sol BTC did not break daily support. That does stand out to us. That is meaningful. And if Sol BTC here holds weekly inside bars, it will continue to stand out. So 12-hour is the best view for ETH. Make that SOL BTC as the bulls try and confirm a trend change, which would be a good sign for the US dollar bulls, the US pairing bulls, if that were to take shape. You always want the BTC pairing more so in the direction you're looking. If I'm a bear, I want the BTC pairing weaker than the US dollar pairing. If I'm a bull, I want the BTC pairing stronger than the US dollar pairing. ADA USDT, $2 bear break marked the bottom. Again, nobody left. Once that stop triggers, nobody left to sell their longs and nobody left to short. So we have a solid bounce underway of almost 10%, about a 10% bounce. 4-hour, just looking for a lower high. EMA has been rejecting the resistance, has been acting as resistance, rejecting the price EMA 12 for a significant amount of time. We're scouting a 4-hour lower high to be the result of this bounce. Weekly consolidation, trying to hold EMA 12 support, But the size of this retracement, again, it's significant enough that we are scouting a weekly lower high to be the most likely scenario on the next bounce. Why? Because the retracement was over 50%. So once the weekly high or low is set, anything above 102, we then scout a lower high. We got a lot of equilibriums shaping up. Why? Because we just had very significant volatility, and we know equilibriums are the most likely scenario after significant volatility. ADA BTC weekly is still holding the low. So another example where the BTC pairing is slightly stronger. We're looking for a weekly higher low, trying to hold EMA 12 and 4601 support held. Let's see if the bulls can change the 4-hour trend back in their favor for notable bounce follow through. So again, in the short term, we are just looking for 4-hour lower highs and cooling off oversold conditions. Have to be watching the broader market. As I'm talking here, SPY is still not finding a bottom. Look at this SPY chart, and there's just no point, at no point today did bears have any need to cover. Bulls are not proving anything. Even those 5-minute bounce attempts just reject. So bears are extremely comfortable in the broader market. And again, this is the most notable drop that we've seen in a while. So we have to be watching how much follow through are we going to get. Are we headed to daily oversold conditions on SPY? Are we about to see a significant amount of fear in stocks? And still, unless there's an ETF approved, in my opinion, a monthly equilibrium on Bitcoin will remain the most likely scenario. And that will shape up for a break in 2022. Ideal scenario for the crypto bulls is a SPY monthly higher low, ideally a bull flag, and then new all-time highs in 2022 to try and help that monthly equilibrium break bull. So that is where we stand. Congrats to the bears in the short term. Protect your bounces if you are playing these bounces in case we do roll over to lower lows. And keep an eye on the broader market and the dollar. Forgot to mention the dollar. The dollar has been bull over the past few days, and we are in a monthly uptrend for the dollar. And we're watching a many-year, 6-month equilibrium on the dollar. This has been playing out for 5 years at this point. High, low, lower high, higher low. The narrative when we were testing 88.25 support on CNBC and everywhere else was the dollar is going to collapse. And we're watching this chart and saying, well, there's a key support that's being tested. Let's see if we hold it. We held it. The narrative shifts once the price shifts. And now we're watching for a 6-month lower high. Again, we could trade within this range for another 2-3 years. But we're scouting a 6-month lower high, anything under 103. And when this pattern breaks, it will have significant implications on commodities, in the stock world, in cryptocurrencies. So this is a big picture one to be watching over the next few years. Do good things.